Hello.
Hi, how you guys doing? Hey,
I'm
where's
good.
your video?
Uh,
My camera is like kind of not
yeah, both
working.
of ours are kind of screwed up.
Oh, that's too bad. I like to
Yeah.
see who I'm talking. I like to see who I'm talking to.
Okay.
Well,
I think I should start off by saying that got a little heated. I'm sorry about that. I kind of just got upset because I don't know, something about what you said about the video. I guess I didn't really understand fully what you meant by this is so horrible, but I guess some insight would be nice. What do you think about the give and go moves is fundamentally wrong?
yeah.
Oh my God. I haven't watched the video in a few years. I don't know when I posted that. And if you have to excuse me, I'm battling that little flu bug that seems to be going around.
Oh wow, yeah.
Um, I'm okay. A little headache, no big deal. Um, I mean, you have to take. To me,
I just
you
want to say
have.
we've been playing Ultimate for Brian. What year was it? I guess
I mean, I've been playing for like
first grade.
First grade.
We're going into high school, so
Oh,
I don't think first grade. Maybe like I've been playing.
I've been playing since first grade.
I've been playing formally for like 2-3 years, but like I've known the sport for quite a while. Yes.
Yeah, same.
okay. All right. So I started playing Frisbee in the 60s.
Okay.
And I was playing Frisbee. I mean, that's what we did through the 70s. I have 6 brothers. We never fielded a team, but we had 7 boys. We could have done pretty well. But I was really the only one that played. I had one brother played a little bit, but I started playing in 79. So I'd already been playing Frisbee. I was a pretty good Frisbee thrower, whatever.
Are you familiar with Columbia High School?
I've played with Irv Kalb.
Oh
Wait,
wow. We go to Columbia High School, or
Yeah.
we're going to be going into Columbia High School. So it's pretty big in our town because Maplewood, it was I
Right.
think invented here. So
Right.
yeah, it's pretty big here.
Right. And that's actually where we need to begin.
hmm
Because that goes a long way to explaining my attitude and my approach. I'm very provocative, and actually, it doesn't work very often. But the whole intention behind me being provocative is to get people to ask questions, and which you did. Yeah, after I beat you up a little bit. So uh, I played with Irv in 1982 out in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he kind of dropped off the map right after that. And then I did an interview with him that I recorded on Google Voice. I hope I still have it. I don't know if I ever downloaded it. I should get that. About, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And basically the gist of my questions, although I know him, we know each other, and it was friendly, but the gist of my interview with him was, what the hell were you thinking? Because I've struggled I was a conventional Ultimate player from 1979 to 1989, basically. Very good player, blah blah blah. But I got tired of a lot of things, and so I branched off around 30 years ago and started playing a completely different style of the game that wrecks the game. And that is, if you, obviously, if you look at a game and you look at a big field with players running around in 2 end zones, it looks sort of like football casually to the casual observer. However, when you just open up the rule book and read the rules and don't look at the field dimensions and just look at the play and the rules, it's almost identical to basketball. All right.
hmm
There's some very quirky things. And this is one of the things, in fact, one of the questions I asked Irv just kind of sent a chill down my spine, because it was like, oh my God, I've been fighting, you know, I'm not like it's unseen enemy for decades, trying to understand why is it? I mean, the stuff that I came up with 30 years ago destroys the game. It revolutionized it. It should lead to a complete overhaul of the rules.
Yeah, I
Because
watched your episodes 1 through 10 of the I don't remember what it's called. Something Frank. I don't remember exactly what the titles were, but
yeah,
I
let's
watched
be
those.
frank.
Let's be
Yeah,
frank. So I kind of understand a little bit of what you were saying by the
right.
all the rules.
Right. And so I was talking to Irv, and I was asking him all these questions. One of them was fascinating, was like, Irv, why are jump passes illegal? Which is a perfectly, like, no one really questions, like, why are the rules the way they are? And, and can we circle back 50 years now now that we're, retrospectively, and say, oh, did the intended rationale behind those rules yield the results that were expected? We can't do that because we didn't. Prior to me talking to Irv, no one even knew why the rules were the way they were.
Yeah.
And I said, why are jump passes illegal? Because that's a nice, they're legal in basketball, and it makes sense that they're. And he said, what are you talking about? They are legal.
Hmm?
Right. So
No.
here's the guy who codified the rules. He's sort of to me, he's one of the two guys who were the progenitors of the game. There's I forget his name, the Hollywood producer.
Oh,
He
Joe.
made the what's his name?
Yeah, Joel Silver,
The Silver.
Joe.
Yeah.
who had no business inventing a sport. And Irv Kalb, I got this from the interview I did with him, was playing a shit ton of flag football in Maplewood. When at the point in time in history when he codified the rules for Ultimate. So he was very flag football oriented. And I don't know about you boys, but when I grew up, we played tackle. you
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's neither here nor there, but it's sort of like, flag football was for pussies, and that's just how it is. But he was shocked that jump passes weren't legal, that somehow that through the years just fell away, and no one ever knew that was actually legal to do. But the one thing that stunned me, it was almost like it's like a kick in the stomach almost of like this to me. And people don't understand what I understood in that instant. And I said, why is it illegal to knock the disc out of the thrower's hands? Now, do you guys know why that would be illegal?
I mean,
Um.
because it's a non-contact sport. I mean, from what I've know about Ultimate, yeah, I don't think you can just go up to someone and just like take the disc out of their hands.
Not take the disc out, but just hit it out.
Hit it out. I mean, yeah, because I mean, it's yeah. Isn't it founded on the fact that it's a non-contact sport?
Well, first of all, God, I really want to do video, but that's why I'll find someone else to do it with. It's ridiculous to say Ultimate's a non-contact sport. And in fact, high schools across the country are prohibited from allowing co-ed basketball in their PE classes, but they allow Ultimate simply because it says in the rules that it's non-contact. But of course, that's ridiculous. There's all kinds of contact in
Well,
Ultimate.
well,
But
yeah,
not on purpose.
yeah,
You're trying to avoid there being contact. Of course, people are gonna run into each other by accident or like when they're
yeah.
jumping up to get the disc.
I'm pretty sure it's a true statement. I've played more Ultimate than anyone on the planet.
Oh, totally.
All right,
I
I've
mean,
played probably 4,000 games or
yeah.
something, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. First of all, you have to take intentionality when you're talking about a sport. Intentionality has nothing to do with it.
I guess.
This is really, really important. And this is part of why I have the kind of the attitude that I do online and when I say these things, because ultimate is just highly ideological. Do you guys know what ideological,
I
what
kind of
that,
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
what does that word mean to you?
It's
Ideological.
Hmm?
It has many different interpretations. Everyone can bring their own like ideals and morals to the sport. Now, what do you
No,
mean? Explain?
no. Um, Ideological is generally a groupthink that describes normative behavior. So like science is highly ideological and shouldn't be. Science, that's an oxymoron, scientific ideology. This should be, but any time of organized belief system of normative behavior is ideological. So we have Democrats and Republicans, and the Democrats have their ideology. This is what's right, and we have to, do whatever. And it's an entire belief system, and it's very much anywhere in society where we have organizational ideologies, we're going to have institutionalized bigotry, because bigotry is defined to be lack of tolerance for non-like-minded thinkers. And if there's anything I am, it's a non-like-minded thinker. I don't think like anybody, and I don't, and which is great if you want to have different things. But in a sport, you should embrace people who think differently. But ultimate's highly ideological in the entire. I can go through line by line of the first 3 paragraphs of the rules and say, look how ideological this is. For example, do either of you believe that the only reason to have penalties in sports is to prevent cheating?
Mm,
To have
penalties. No,
well,
it's
I don't
also to
think
keep it's
not
also to keep
only
people safe.
cheating.
Huh?
It's also to keep people safe. No.
Yeah, like fouls and stuff like that, and to
Yeah.
like have like
If you play golf and you hit the ball out of bounds, you take a penalty stroke. There's it keeps the game clean.
well,
Because
yeah,
you accidentally foul people sometimes, but that shouldn't mean that it's not. Let me put it this way. For example, you guys are playing in a basketball game.
mm-hmm.
You both have 2 fouls on you, 5 fouls, you're out. So if you have 2 fouls on you, you're pretty aggressive with your fouling, right?
Yeah.
If you have 4 fouls on you, are you just as aggressive?
No, you're
Well,
also
no, yeah,
aggressive.
No. Right. So obviously, if there's a penalty for a foul, you're going to try harder not to foul if there's consequences, even if it's intentional or not. In fact, you're going to have the intention of not fouling, whereas ultimate players don't have that intention. They just kind of like wash their hands of it and say, "Oh, I don't mean to." It's like, fuck that.
Yeah, you could lie about it.
Well,
I
it's
guess.
not even lying about it. That's not it. It's more like plausible deniability. If you don't have if you're not making a conscious effort to play by the rules, it's kind of a laissez-faire way of playing. It's not cheating, but you're not going to. The game is not going to be played to the same standard as if there's penalties. The point is that there are reasons in sports for penalties other than to prevent cheating.
Yeah.
In the first sentence in the old game of Ultimate, it says the only reason to have penalties in sports is to prevent cheating. That's an ideological seed. It sprouts into a plant because the whole first 3 paragraphs. How do you guys believe in mutual respect?
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, but I think like
No, hold on. That was a yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fuck
Yeah.
me. Excuse my language. I know you guys are just kids, but I'll try my best.
I mean, we're really
mutual
fine with it.
mutual respect is nonsense. And even if you believe in it and you got good reasons for it, don't impose that on me, because I don't believe that. I just don't believe that at all. You have to earn my respect. You're not entitled to my respect. And if it's in the rules that mutual respect's there and I don't respect you and you feel a sense of entitlement, then all of a sudden I'm the bad guy for doing something that's completely natural. Nowhere else in the world do you have that artificially imposed mutual respect in any sport. Mutual admiration or something, but mutual respect is the ability to see through the other's eyes. There's no one who can see through my eyes on the ultimate field, because my no ego. And please, there's no ego. It's just I've played so much Ultimate. The way my mind operates is beyond anybody. And I can say that for a fact, because there's no way any player in the world would be playing the way they do, that coaches would be coaching the way they do, anything, if they saw the game the way I did. And it's just, and this all goes back to the ideology. The ideology of Ultimate keeps it from changing. It's why socialism will never work, because the ideology of Ultimate is very socialist, and it needs to change.
Well, how do you suggest we
Yeah.
change it?
I mean, have you ever like try to be a coach yourself and like see like use your like experience and like strategies to like take out other teams, stuff like that?
Sure.
How did it work out?
The last time, my last best experience as an example, I was working with Mike DeNardis, who coaches Ring of Fire, and there was some controversy about agreements that he had made that he said later that he didn't make. But they had warmed up. I was 55 at the time. I'm 61 now, but I was 55 at the time. I didn't warm up at all. They had done their wind sprints, their calisthenics, their plyometrics, some drills, some scrimmaging. And I went out there, was like, all right, boys, here's what, I'm going to do my thing now. I didn't warm up. The only stretching I did was when I bent over and tied my shoes. And I could do what I want, when I wanted, how I wanted, and there's nothing they could do to stop me at 55. And that's not, there's no ego there at all, because that's not normal. There's nowhere, in no sport in the world should a 55-year-old man be able to dominate kids who are, it's because the system I teach gives you so much leverage as a player. It breaks the game. So I've coached this over and over, but the point is that socialism, what's happening now in the country, which is horrible, promotes mediocrity and it punishes greatness. And I look at Ultimate, people say Ultimate's changed. I don't think it's changed. It's almost the exact same sport it was 40 years ago, give or take. The outfits are better, the players are more athletic, but that the sophistication and advancement and the there's a natural process. You watch Steph Curry and how he's changed basketball or stuff like that. There's not a single player that I look at in Ultimate who's changed the game, that the game has changed because of this player or that player, that you're emulating some player because he's doing something that just doesn't exist.
Well, I think that's because I think most players are like fine with the way Ultimate is right now. And like of course there's like people like you who like want like new stuff be added or like removed, but I think the majority of players like is fine with Ultimate as it is.
Which is why that's probably exactly why I write exactly the way I do online, because it's sort of like you guys are idiots, and I think what you're saying is true. And it's sort of like that's the same problem with politics in this country, that the election just got stolen, but most people don't care, or they don't pay attention, or they're not willing to take a minute and look at the evidence,
So
which is
wait. If we're going to politics,
yeah.
do you believe the election was stolen?
No, I'm sure it was. There's no belief. I'm not an ideological person. I don't operate on beliefs. I look at the
Okay, well
research.
then, okay.
The election was it was categorically, undeniably, it was, not only was it a massive fraud, but once you get your mind around the fact that the election was a fraud, you have to, the only conclusion you can make is that the entire establishment is in on it. That it's just the the metastasis of this cancer is it's stage 4. This patient's about to die.
Okay.
But the point is that on both ends of that, you've got people on the far end who are jumping up and ground and screaming and saying this is election fraud, and on the far other end, you've got the movers and shakers who are making it happen, but most people are complacent, which is what your comment is, and I would agree with that, and that's a problem. Because it's not natural. I mean, this is what I'm saying about socialism. Anytime in history that we've attempted to artificially level the playing field in politics, in sports, or in life, it never works. Because I mean, one of the other rules in the first few paragraphs, it says it's a responsibility of the player for fair play. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You guys agree with that?
I think that that is one of the things. I think that's one of the things I agree with you. I mean, I think that coming from like playing with my peers, I think most of them can follow by that rules, but I think a lot of people don't have the capacity.
No. Hold on. You're not looking deep enough.
Okay. What is?
The world's not fair.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The world's not fair. So and the rules for Ultimate are really not fair. And not only that, but the game of Ultimate is immediately unfair the moment I step onto the field. What am I supposed to do? Play with one hand tied behind my back?
No, but what says
Okay.
behind your back?
What's that?
I said no, but what says that you have to play with one hand tied behind your back? It just doesn't I know that.
Because if I step out, okay, if I came to your high school practice next year and I meant to be playing fair, I would have to play sitting on the ground. I'm so much better. It's not fair on anyone that I'm playing.
There is no case in which you would be playing against.
Yeah, that's
it's
a high school.
No, hold on. I love using spectrums. The ends of the spectrums are where things always get the most interesting in any conversation. And so I use that as a spectrum argument. I'm just saying Ultimate's not fair when I step on the field. I'm better than everybody.
Okay.
And there's no ego. That's just an objective fact.
I mean, I know that you're saying that there's no ego, but it just sounds kind of egotistical, in my opinion.
Well, don't confuse confidence with ego. I know what I know. I know what it's like to run the triple threat position in Ultimate and what it does to the game, and that there's no one else on the planet who's figured it out besides me. That's just knowing. That's not ego. Ego is something else. I'm confident of what I know, and I'd like to see at the end of the game, at the end of the day, I'd love to see Ultimate evolve, and it can't.
Okay.
There's something fundamentally broken with the game it's never evolved, which is why I'm saying socialism will never work. What are the great innovations that came out of Stalin's Russia or USSR or Mao's Cultural Revolution? There aren't any. When you try to artificially level the playing field, you're always benefiting the mediocre and you're punishing the excellent. And that's what Ultimate is. Ultimate is pure socialism.
Okay, so you're saying that Ultimate is being too fair and it's not letting people who are like very skilled at the game and like they're being punished. Is that what you're saying? In sort of a way?
No, I was pointing out the entire first three sections in the rules. It's the preface and then the description and then one more paragraph. I forget what it's called. Like it says in the rules, it's illegal to run with the disc. That's just patently false. It's not true. And it's in the first three paragraphs. So, huh?
No, never mind. Keep going.
It's completely legal to run with the disc up to three steps. It's been that way since 1995. Yeah. And I'll play Ultimate this weekend somewhere, and some person who doesn't understand the rules, who's read that, oh, you can't run with the disc, is going to call traveling on me on a completely legal move. I've been called thousands and thousands of times for travels and picks on things that are completely legal. How do you guys feel about intentionally setting picks in Ultimate?
Brian?
Okay, to be honest, I'm not that experienced in Ultimate myself, but I think that yes, of course, no one should intentionally travel, But like, yeah, when you're like decelerating from after a catch, you need to like slow yourself down. And
No, you don't.
sometimes,
No, you don't.
well,
No, you don't. That's not, maybe you should read the rules. That's not true. If you throw before your third ground contact, you don't have to decelerate. But my point about the fair play is that the first 3 paragraphs in the rules, it's all ideological. It's all socialist. It's liberal. It's kind of participation trophies on steroids. Participation trophies are the ultimate in fairness. Everybody's a winner. Nobody's a loser. It's not real life. But it's in
wait,
it's in the ideology. It's all through the entire rules is based on those first 3 paragraphs.
so you're saying that based on the rules, anyone can take 3 steps after catching a disc, and that's not travel?
That you have to throw by the third
Well, yeah.
ground contact. But yeah, of course. Yeah, it's been that way for 25 years.
I mean, that's interesting because I've actually never know that well. No, well, I don't think anyone told us that.
Yeah,
But I've learned.
no one has said that to us. So interesting.
Right. And it's sort of like who's coaching you, and that like it's bizarre that that's what I said, that Ben Wiggins, who I've played with and against, is teaching kindergarten level ultimate. It's and a lot of the stuff he and other people teach is actually fundamentally wrong. It's not just that it's basic or beginner level stuff, it's actually incorrect. It's crazy. I mean, you can't imagine how crazy it is that through my eyes, how the sport is so stagnant. It's so impossible to change. How, no matter how, I mean, I've been trying to change it for a good 15 years with videos and with, being out there. Nothing. It's just, I haven't moved the needle an inch.
I mean, if you hate this sport so much, why did you pick Ultimate in the first place then?
Well, like I said, I played Frisbee for 10 years and I didn't realize, so I played Frisbee for 10 years and Ultimate, by the way, 1980, like when I played with Irv and stuff, it was way better than it is now in terms of it got really corrupted by the late 1980s. But in the early 80s, people really, maybe I'm misremembering, which is possible. But my memory was that, there was a lot more honor in the game back then. That people really like this thing about what you just did, that you don't know the rules. Like nobody wouldn't know the rules. Like it was incumbent on players. You just didn't learn the rules by playing pickup at the park. You learned the rules by reading the rule book. Like everybody just knew the rules, and you go to a tournament, there wasn't very much arguing, and people played by the rules. And by the late 90s, late 80s, everybody was traveling like crazy. Fouls were just unbelievable. The way that tournaments were organized was unbelievably corrupt. It was the tournament organizers would, and the sectional directors and the regional coordinators were corrupt in terms of how they put, their favorite team or they slotted teams in to give them a better chance. I mean, it didn't take long for Ultimate to get corrupted. And then since then, it's kind of they kind of went in the wrong direction. I mean, there was clearly a problem, which is, it's based on socialism and it needed to be uprooted and changed into a real sport. And the UPA, instead of recognizing that was a problem, they took their socialist ideas and added observers and added all this other nonsense to the rules that made the game worse. And so it got watered down. And people don't argue as much, but the game lost its passion too. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So if the game doesn't change, I think it's because it's socialist, because of the ideology behind it. And I'm still working on trying to coach. I'd love to teach what I know. And one of these days I'll get a phone call, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
It's definitely your point of view is definitely one that I haven't heard. So I'm very, very interested by it.
Well, that's part of a problem. I mean, it's almost like, and I'm not a political person. I'm not Republican or Democrat or whatever, libertarian, any of those.
Mhm.
I'm not a believer. I mean, watch my documentary films. I make films on spirituality and meditation and divinity, and it's the opposite of what the ultimate Frisbee community thinks of me as. But imagine a world where everybody's a Democrat except for one Republican, and the censorship that goes on. I mean, the censorship that's going on in this country should scare the crap out of everybody. And yeah, it's happening at such a level that you guys probably aren't even aware that it's how horrific it is.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but I mean, we're in a very democratic town, so it's kind of
So, I mean, is it okay for, I don't even know where to begin, but for people to be knocked off Twitter, or people to, I mean,
well. I mean, if they have,
no, there's no,
if they're spreading, yeah, but there is. If they're spreading misinformation, then they should not be able to speak. It just does make sense.
well, actually, that's not true. But most importantly, give me an example, and I'll tell you how full
I
of
mean,
shit you are.
I'm not on Twitter, but I mean, I
No,
feel
but see, this is what's so dark about what's happening right now. Like, you're being told these things by the people who are actually doing the misinformation, the disinformation. I mean, it's all. I mean, that in 2002, there was a Baker Carter commission that came out on election safety, election integrity. Jim Baker and Jimmy Carter.
Mhm.
And they just did a overall comprehensive analysis on all the different voting machines and types of voting, paper ballots, non-paper ballot, the whole ecosystem of voting. And they highlighted the number one most vulnerable aspect of voting is mail-in voting by an order of magnitude.
Mhm.
All right. A year ago, Twitter and Facebook start putting out these things daily, election, mail-in voting is completely safe. It was all bullshit. It was all misinformation. They were already planning to steal the election a year ago, and they were planting the seeds. Oh, that when we steal the election and people start screaming voter fraud because of mail-in balloting, we're already going to brainwash them all into thinking that mail-in balloting is completely safe, and there's nothing wrong with it. When it's a complete, the amount of disinformation out there. And then if I go on Twitter right now and challenge the election, I'm being accused of disinformation. And you don't see that as dark or ugly. Our First Amendment gives us the right for free speech.
Well, I mean, I do agree with that last part, but I could get behind what you're saying if what is the proof that mail-in voting
yeah,
isn't safe.
and like,
I told you
oh,
the car. Okay, all right, boys. You ask and you shall receive. I don't even know where to begin with this. What they did in especially Pennsylvania, which got struck down today by the Supreme Court, which is just outrageous. First of all, in our Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, it says that the only people who can change the place, time, place, and way of voting is the state legislatures. Not the governor, not the Secretary of State, not the election panel board, not the state Supreme Court, only the legislators. So, but that didn't happen in Pennsylvania. It was the governor, and then they got sued, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, no, this is okay. It's all completely illegal. And what they did with that is they indiscriminately send out, millions of paper ballots to everybody. You can do all kinds of ballot harvesting. There was no way for you to verify what your vote was. There was a lot of thousands, tens of thousands of people who went to vote in Pennsylvania who got there and said, "Oh, you can't vote. You've already voted." Thousands of dead people voted. The signature matching in last election in Pennsylvania was about 6% of signatures didn't match and those ballots are thrown out. This time with over 10 times more ballots that were mailed in compared to last one, because they just let everybody do it. And so you would think, right, I mean, logically, that the number of signatures that would be invalidated would probably be at least what it was in a normal election, if not higher. But it went from 6% down to 0.3%. Like basically they accepted all ballots. I mean, I can go on and on and on to how fraudulent the entire mail-in balloting system was, but that wasn't the only fraud. I mean, there was the results that were going from the Dominion voting tabulating machines were going to China and Iran and Portugal and Spain and Germany. I mean, the fraud. I mean, what they're accomplishing by saying don't look at the disinformation is preventing you from even, or discouraging you from even looking at the evidence or doing your own research.
Okay.
It's like, that's so un-American. In and of itself, that's un-American. Like there should be an open conversation and the ability to say, hey, something's not right here. You know what happened in Fulton County in Georgia, where they pulled out the ballots from underneath the table. I mean, it's like, and you got to understand why they had to steal the election, right? I mean, what's the motive? Why did they have to do this? Because the fraud was just so blatant. Like they didn't even care if they got caught or not, because they knew there would be no but they had to do it because and I still believe that Trump's going to prevail. That I'm not sure when, but in the next couple of weeks, I'm guessing the military is going to come in and mop up this mess. But there's no way Biden won this election. It's laughable to anybody who, like I said, anyone with an open mind who says, wait a second, there should be enough of suspicious statistical anomalies and what do you call those things? Affidavits. What are there, 2,500 or 4,000 affidavits signed under the penalty of perjury of people saying they've seen things. The thing that happened in Fulton County, what happened in Maricopa County, what happened in Wisconsin and Michigan. There should be enough anomalies to get at least people to scratch their heads and say, wait a second, this doesn't seem, I want to dig deeper, because it seems like it's maybe possible this was a fraud, and nobody's even getting that far. And that's kind of crazy. So what do you want to know about give and go moves?
What's it called?
I think like in the video you commented that, I mean, you kind of already talked about what parts of Ultimate were, how Ultimate is just fundamentally wrong, or like the rules are fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
But wait, why do you think give and go just doesn't work? Like,
no, give and go works. It's that what he's teaching there kind of misses the whole point. I mean, I love analogies, like I do spectrums, the ends of the spectrums. What's a good analogy here?
Because like
I mean, are you guys familiar with other sports at all?
A little bit. I watch it.
Yeah, it depends.
So, imagine watching basketball and no teams dribble.
Okay.
Their entire game is just passing. All right.
It's like Ultimate.
It is. That's what Ultimate is. It's horrible. No, it's worse than that. Imagine basketball. Here's what Ultimate is. Imagine basketball with no dribbling, and every time a player catches a ball, they look at the basket, no matter where they're at on the court. That's Ultimate.
Well, I think
everybody looks to huck the disc with there's no sense of a bigger picture.
You could say that's bad, but I think you could compare it to basketball.
Bad.
You could compare it to basketball, but I think the main intention is that Ultimate is not basketball. It's its own sport.
Yeah, and
like I said, I like analogies. Ultimate actually isn't a sport as far as I'm concerned, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just now. I'm just trying to you know, what you asked me a question and my answer was in the form of an analogy.
Okay.
Like what is being taught in that video. So when you think of dribbling, naturally the sport that you think of is soccer, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, you think of basketball.
Well, I mean, soccer too. Either.
Yeah, no, okay, but what other sports is dribbling in? It's in hockey, it's in field hockey,
Yeah.
it's in lacrosse. Like dribbling is a common. I guess tactic. I don't want to go too far down, but let's just call it a tactic. Okay. So it's a
Yeah.
dribbling's a common tactic, and dribbling exists in ultimate fact. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Dribbling is the only sport, as far as I know, where dribbling requires the cooperation of teammates. All the other sports you can dribble unilaterally, and dribbling is, yeah, ultimate's not basketball. I get that, but dribbling, it's, to me, since as someone who's been doing dribbling for 30 years, and there's players, there's always been players, Free Child or Nut or other people, and it's in some of those, you know, Let's Be Frank videos. There's always people who are doing sort of kind of give and go, and it's sort of maybe kind of dribbling, but it's, you know, it's just so fundamentally flawed that I don't call it dribbling. So what's being taught there in that video isn't even dribbling. It's it's being taught in the vacuum of how dribbling fundamentally changes the entire sport of ultimate. And actually, I would say dribbling changes ultimate into a sport.
Okay, so before we got on this meet, I'll try to do some like background research. So from your videos, like to me at least, it seems like dribbling just like a series of give and goes. So like what makes a dribbling dribble, and what how's it different from give and go moves?
Well, so none of those give and go moves in the video that I trashed are dribbling. So it's different in that, in one hand, you're correct. Dribbling is a very refined, finite subset of give and go. And the number one difference is intentionality. What are you trying to accomplish? What does dribbling do for me?
I mean, it applies pressure.
Yeah, and you like move up. Well, it's like more like to get out. Well, yeah, to get out like a sticky situation, and like also move up for you at the same time.
No. Those are all nice side effects. What dribbling accomplishes is a form of communication. When I dribble, I communicate to the defense that I can do what I want, when I want, how I want, and they can't stop me. And when you communicate that in no uncertain terms, you force them to play more softly. They play on their heels. You get into their heads. You've won the mental battle. You've gone beyond the tactical advantage, beyond the physical advantage, beyond the strategic advantage, to the philosophical mental advantage. And that's a form of communication. So and when that communication is leveled, then the leverage that you get by them knowing that not only can you pass or throw deep, but that you can penetrate, it's extraordinary. Like defenders, they can't play. You know, once a defender knows that, they can't play me the way that they would normally would another player.
So you're saying dribbling is basically like pushing the defender, like making them like go crazy almost, kind of.
When I'm playing, I'm for the most part, I don't care what 360 degrees. There's no end zones in my, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll dribble in any direction. Like in real estate, I don't know if you know this, there's 3 rules of real estate. It's location, location, location. In in my offense, there's 3 rules. It's dribbling, dribbling, dribbling. Like you just, it's like, you know, the old football adage from, you know, from the, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s of establishing a running game. You know, like the Bears and the Packers, all the Midwest teams would just pound the crap out of you. Big offensive line and Walter Payton just running. And once you establish that you can run whenever you want, then you start passing. So once I can establish that I can run whenever I want, which I'm always doing, because the rules for Ultimate are ridiculous. They make it, I mean, that's sort of the sad part of all this. Like the rules are so easy and there's so much of an offensive bias. You know, I can see a lot of players who are like, well, why dribble? You know, I don't need to. It's like, well, I don't know. It's a lot more fun and it's a lot more intellectually stimulating, and certainly a lot more gratifying to be 55 years old and go out and shred a national caliber team.
Well, okay. And like, what tips would you give to like the defender then, if they're facing up against someone who's dribbling?
I would strongly recommend considering taking up another sport.
So dribbling is only for the offense. You just can't defend from that. You can't like fight back from dribbling.
I mean, the best defense is a matchup zone. You know, man on man's a joke. Man on man's a joke against dribble. A team that is dribbling centric, man on man just doesn't make any sense. If it's windy, a zone defense can work, but other than that, you want to run a matchup zone so you can hopefully catch them in a compromising, you know, overcommitment where you can force an error. But that's really where defense, that's what a defense is against the dribbler, is trying to create an unforced error or a forced error. But you can't, you know, I mean, I can't tell you how inconsequential markers are for me and have been for 20 years. They're just not, they're not even on the field with me. Like they just don't.
That's really funny because Bryant prides himself on being a good marker.
Yeah. Well, I'm in my life, I have 10,000 foot blocks and 5,000 hand blocks. I'm a really good marker.
Nice.
But you know, I couldn't mark me. I mean, once you know,
Well, then
the last couple, let me just go. This is a
Yeah.
little ego. I will admit this one. The last couple 100 foot blocks I have been behind, no look behind the back foot blocks. And, you know, one of the last one of those is just quite sad for me. Just, you know, it's just sort of the pinnacle of mediocrity that is Ultimate. You know, I just did my best ever behind the back no look foot block. It was a full whirling, you know, I set up to do this, Bryant. I set up 90 degrees to the thrower. All right, so let me set this up for you. I'm going to try to get a no look foot block on a righty thrower's flick. So I've got my left shoulder and my left torso, you know, my whole left frame.
Yeah.
Aligned with him. So instead of facing straight up, I'm actually facing, you know, I'm looking straight out perpendicular to him to his left. Makes sense?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And so that way, I'm baiting them into throwing a flick because it's wide open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when you kick.
And that's when it's not a kick. It's not like a thrust. It's more of a spin, you know, it's almost like a pirouette. So my foot goes out and around like a roundhouse kick. But anyway, I nailed this thing. It would have been at least a good, say 40 inches off the ground, at least 36 inches. I would say at least 40, maybe higher. I mean, it was awesome.
This
And
this this
and
is
the and
you're
the asshole.
playing.
No, hold on. And then the asshole called a foul on me. And it's just like,
Wow.
right. And it's, everybody on the sidelines and stuff were yelling and screaming, and of course they'd never seen anything like this before. Here's a 55-year-old man just getting a block that they can't even get their heads around. And the asshole called, there's nothing you can do. I just wanted to punch him in the face, because it's like, after decades of this mediocre crap, and having players that have the ability to change the outcome of a play because they're surprised, or they don't like it, or they think oh, I never got back to the reason why it's illegal to knock the disc out of your hands. You guys are both wrong. The reason, and it started right there at your high school, but the reason why it's illegal to knock the disc out of the thrower's hand is because, drum roll please, it's because a throw hasn't happened.
Hasn't happened. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, not okay.
Oh no.
What does that mean to you guys? Do you get that? Do you get why that is so fucked up?
Because you have to throw. And
No, what does it mean? When the person wrote those rules, what was their thought, structure? Like, why? Yeah, what went into that rule, that definition?
I mean, it's more on the offense side. They're trying to, so they can actually like pass the disc. Because like, if you're yeah, in the rules,
Why should it make a difference whether or not a throw happened? Like, what's the?
Well, okay. Well,
Come on,
the
use
point is that okay. The point is that the thrower can't move. So if someone can just like anytime just go for the block and just take the disc, then that'll
not
be
just
like,
take. This isn't taking the disc. I mean,
just
God,
like,
I've gotten 5,000 hand blocks. I'd roughly say I've had probably 1,000 all ball stuffs where they're throwing and I get all ball, which in basketball is a turnover, which in ultimate should be a turnover. I'm not fouling anyone. They're in the throwing motion. I get it's a clean block, and all those fouls, I don't get credit for, as blocks. Why is it that the person who made the rules, I'm forcing you guys to think. I'm very provocative that way. When they were making the rules, why is it that they made this determination of whether or not a throw happened? What does that have to do with anything?
I think it's gonna be too overpowered for the defense then.
No. Think, what was Irv doing before he made up these rules? Before he codified the rules, he was playing flag football. And flag football, and in football, a throw happening is a thing. In football, there are plays. You hike the ball and you run a play. And when that play's dead, either by a flag or someone going out of bounds or a turnover, you stop, you come to a complete stop, and then you run another play. So when in Irv's mind, when he made that rule, a play hadn't happened yet. You can't have a turnover when a play hadn't happened. Do you get on how insane that is? The entire, and when he said this, it was like a kick in the stomach. It's like, oh my God, that's why you can run out of bounds in ultimate, and it's not a turnover. You just get because a play had, huh?
Well, what do you mean by running out of bounds? Like,
you catch the disc and your momentum takes you out of bounds. It's not a turnover. That's because of flag football. It's retarded. Every one of the rules, I can go through every rule in ultimate, and every one of them benefits the mediocre and punishes the excellent. Does it take more skill or less skill to stay in bounds on those plays? Does it take more skill or less skill to get a block on the disc without fouling the guy? Does it take more skill or less skill to stop in 3 steps on every travel instead of as many steps as you need? Up and down the line, every rule in ultimate benefits the mediocre, and the majority in ultimate players. Yeah, Frank, we like it is the way it is, man. What's the problem? It's horrible. All the rules need to be completely overhauled. My recommendation would be for you guys to take up disc hoops. It's a far better sport.
which you invented it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
It's actually awesome, but it's really hard to get traction. I've kind of given up on it.
Yeah.
There was a group last year, and of course it got disrupted by COVID, but there's a group in Omaha, Nebraska. Like I have statistics on my website, and for some time I started getting all these hits on my rules page from Omaha area. It's like, what the hell? So I kind of did Facebook, found the group and said, hey, what's happening? And they actually had their own Disc Hoops league. It was awesome. They had their commissioner and their player representative. They had the whole structure. Pretty sweet. But they kind of sucked. They weren't very good at it. Anyway, what do you want to know about dribbling or give and go?
I don't know. I mean, that was about it. Brian, do you have any questions?
Not much. It's pretty much all answered.
Yeah.
I'm a little opinionated.
Mm.
And I'm a little I'm not giving up on and you ask, well, why don't I talk nicely? You're assuming that I haven't tried that. I've tried a lot of things over the last 40 years to get the ideology out of Ultimate, to see it grow up and to be actually a real sport with real penalties and real roster limits and everything that a sport should have. And I would love to see it. Ultimate has potential. You asked me why I play if I hate it so much. We all have a love affair with the disc. Frisbee's the most phenomenal, game device ever invented. It's amazing. So I do get some joy, but it's does come with frustration. Nothing worse than putting on one of my signature moves that no one's ever seen before and I plant either foot and throw with either hand. So a lot of times I'll plant with, I'm right-handed, but sometimes I'll use my right pivot foot and throw a lefty flick dribble move or something. And they'll call me for traveling because they haven't seen it before. And that's just, it's horrific. Like from a community that regularly travels just horrifically, all the time they're traveling. And there's just no one who tries harder not to travel than me, because if you're traveling, you're not balanced. And if you're not balanced, you're not going to be as effective. That's just sports 101. You got to be balanced. And so balance is everything to my game. So I almost never travel. And when I do, I know about it. And I put the disc on the ground because I think it should be a turnover.
All right. Well, I think I have a lot of homework to get to, but one last question. We have Brian, when are tryouts?
Last summer.
Yeah, summer, I guess. Any tips? I don't know. Kind of vague, broad.
No, because I could sit here and I could coach you guys for the next 6 months, or whatever, do this, but your coach or whoever's going to be on your selection committee or picking up your team or putting your team together is not going to understand what the hell you guys are doing. It's quite sad. It's just sort of like, wow. So yeah, I would recommend seriously considering taking up volleyball.
Volleyball.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, my son's 27. I just kind of forbid him from playing Ultimate. It's like, look, it's nonsense. It's all it's all socialism. It's postmodern neo-Marxism.
Okay.
Sorry to be a bummer, but
I don't know. I think like I get your problems with the sport, but I mean, in the end, I have fun playing it, so I'm gonna keep
same.
it.
Well, that's the problem.
I mean, I don't see a problem with that.
The problem is this. Ultimate was designed to be fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, but you can't, if you're designing a game, like Disc Hoops is fun, but I never designed it to be fun. The natural byproduct of a good game design is that it'll be fun. If you go out of your way to design something to be fun, you're creating the objective of the game to be a subjective experience. And then what's fun for you isn't what's fun for me. Subject, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, then I could say the same thing. I mean,
about what?
if disc hoops, you're saying it's fun, that also is subjective.
No. I said, well, that's a different story. What I said was I did not design disc hoops to be fun.
How is ultimate designed to be a fun sport? I've never once heard in the history of ultimate that the sport was designed to be fun. It was designed to be a sport that people could play. Like, where's the evidence that shows that it was designed to be a fun sport?
Why is it illegal to knock the disc out of the thrower's hands? Why is it illegal to double time a thrower? Why are the end zones 25 yards deep? Why is it legal to run out of bounds after?
None of those are answers to the question, though.
No, they are.
They aren't.
They're not.
No.
Why not?
I mean, it's.
Are you capable of critical thought, or can you think for yourself, or do you need other people to do your thinking for you?
I mean, it's just no one has ever said that the sport of ultimate was designed to be fun and not to be a sport. I mean, it's never written solid in history that that's why the sport was made.
Look up the new games movement and do your research on the new games movement. The new games movement predated ultimate by 2 years. Their spirit of new games is almost verbatim identical to spirit of the game in ultimate. The whole there's no doubt that the participation trophy phenomena is an outcropping of the new games movement. It's the same ideology, and ultimate Frisbee was born out of the new games movement, and the people in the new games movement called ultimate Frisbee the greatest successful new game ever. And do your research on the new games movement. The entire intention behind all the different various new games was for it to be fun for all the participants, irrespective of gender, age, intelligence, physique, anything else. Ultimate was designed to be fun. The whole game, why is it that it's not illegal to like when you catch the disc to stop within 3 meters? Because every decision that went into the rules where I said, is it take more effort? Does it take more skill to do this or to do that? Every one of those answers is no, it doesn't take more skill. It's more fun this way. Do your own homework, do some critical thinking. Ultimate was designed to be fun, and it's unbelievably not. That's why it's so addictive. That's why so many people who you said, yeah, Frank, most people like it the way it is. It was designed to be. The number of false positives in ultimate gives a dopamine a response the same way as Worlds of Warcraft does. It's a disproportionate dopamine response. It's highly addictive. It's because the game was designed to be that way. Take my word for it or not, I couldn't care less.
Okay.
All right. Have fun.
Yeah, it was very nice talking to you,